This is The Competitive Edge with Jordan Harbinger. Welcome to The Competitive Edge. My name is Scott Britton, and I'm here to help you answer a question that we all have. How can I get an edge in my business and life? Each week, we're going to uncover how some of the most successful and inspiring entrepreneurs, entertainers, and thought leaders get an edge so you too can reach your full potential. Thanks for tuning in today. Now let's get started. What's up? Welcome to another episode of The Competitive Edge. I hope everyone listening out there is having a fantastic day. Today's guest is Jordan Harbinger from the Art of Charm and the Art of Charm podcast, which I highly recommend. In fact, I just listened to a couple episodes on a cross-country road trip, and they were all excellent. What the heck is the Art of Charm? It's a school that helps men out there become the most charismatic, confident versions of themselves. And today with Jordan, we're going to talk about personal magnetism and the mindsets that help you light up the room wherever you go. Now, for you ladies listening out there, don't worry. Most of what we talk about is universally applicable to both guys and girls. So if you want to be more captivating and magnetic, make sure to stick around. I love this interview with Jordan because he's hilarious and also really smart. And I think everyone out there who's interested in becoming a more captivating person will have some huge takeaways from this conversation as well as some laughs. Without further ado, let's hear from Jordan Harbinger. Jordan, what's up, man?
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Dude, I'm excited to have you. And we talked about this a little bit before, but I love your podcast. So having you on the show right now is just a total honor.
I appreciate it, man. I'm honored to be on here as well. It's always cool to be on someone else's show. It does not get old. And, it's funny, I've been podcasting for 7.5 years, and people are like, oh, man, don't you get sick of going on other shows? And, like, what if they're not that professional? And honestly, I mean, not that you're in this category, but the bar's pretty low for somebody to be so offbeat that it's unprofessional. I just think it's cool because I remember when I started, I couldn't get anyone to be on my podcast because back in 2006, podcasting was kind of like, will you be in my coloring book? I mean, nobody knew what it was, and they certainly didn't give a crap.
Dude, well, I'm happy that you're going to be in my coloring book today. And, why don't we just take a quick second here and just give everyone a quick overview of what the Art of Charm is?
Sure. So the Art of Charm is, one, it's a podcast in iTunes that everybody should go ahead and subscribe to right now, but also it's
+1.
+1, right? Yeah, give it a good little +1 on the old Google Plus. But also, and more importantly, it's a school in Los Angeles. And what we do at that school is we teach emotional intelligence in a system, basically in a systemized way that anybody can learn and master. So what that vague comment essentially means is we teach advanced social skills, advanced social dynamics, dating skills, networking skills for business, as well as just intrapersonal skills. But we don't do it in the whole, this is your salad fork, this is your shrimp fork type of way. We do it in the way that's very blunt feedback and very, very, very practical. For example, we videotape a lot of our clients' interactions with others. We've had everybody in here from software engineers that say, hey, listen, I've been in a cubicle for 3 years. I could use a tune-up, to divorced guys, to guys who are married who just want to make sure that their relationships are strong, to entrepreneurs that want to develop business networking skills because they know that their business lives and dies by those relationships, as well as some guys that you might not expect, like SEAL Team 6, military intelligence, those kind of guys. They come through in droves because they know that these types of skills, although they have some training in their field of work, most of them don't have a level that's as advanced as what we do here. So since we can tailor our training that much, we get a lot of guys in from all walks of life. So as you can imagine, our boot camps are pretty cool because there's a college kid next to an entrepreneur, next to a married guy, next to a Navy SEAL, next to an intelligence agent from another country. So it's pretty badass. And essentially, we're able to tailor our training to get people from one level to the next and beyond in terms of their presence, their magnetism, their relationship building and management skills, etc. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, man. And I'm a firm believer in investing on all that stuff. And, today, man, I think what I want to do is just talk about personal magnetism and how we can present the best version of ourselves. And kind of like you, I like to dive right into the meat here. Like it's awesome to hear the stories and all that, of how people got started. But I feel like that's kind of played out. So I think we could just start off here by just kind of diving in. And I'd love to ask you, like, what's the number one thing you see out there that people believe about developing emotional intelligence that just isn't true?
Well, first of all, let me give you props on not doing a very typical question, which is a lot of people do this, and it's a hallmark of a very amateur interview, and you avoided it. They go, "How did you get where you are today?" So if you have a podcast and you ask people that, you need to stop. But thank you for not asking me that.
Dude, I feel like we're having a little love fest right here with like the first 5 minutes of the interview. Maybe just me. I don't know. But
hey, man,
anyways.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. But you're right. There are a lot of misconceptions about personal magnetism. The one that comes to mind at first, though, is that you have to work really hard at managing other people's first impressions of you. And it's kind of a yes and no situation. A lot of people go, all right, I want to go in there and I want to look everybody in the eye and shake everybody with a firm handshake and give everybody a business card and be really intense about this and make sure that everybody thinks I'm a great guy and, blah, 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 and likes me. And that's not really the way to go about it. It's more of a finesse type of situation. And a lot of people don't get that. And everybody's been to the networking event where someone's like, "Hey, Scott Britton, nice to meet you. Yeah, right on. Oh, Jordan Harbinger. Hey, give me a call sometime. We'll do lunch. Yeah, right. Have your people come. My people. Here's a business card. Bye." And then they like go to the next guy and do the same thing. And you're like, what just happened? Where's my wallet? Right. Or whatever. It's really weird. And we don't want to do that. What we're doing is we're managing our own mindsets and our own beliefs and subtracting insecurities, subtracting weird little personality quirks that betray our, mindsets and working on building positive, really confident and socially appropriate mindsets for whatever situation we're dealing with. Because one of the things we firmly believe in at the Art of Charm is that your mindsets dictate your actions, which dictate your results. And what a lot of coaches and a lot of people are doing is they're like, I'm going to change my actions. I'm going to do this and come across this way and work on my body language and be alpha dog and all this crap. And they go, all right, I'm going to get good results from that. But here's the problem. If you don't change your mindsets, then it's like Swiss cheese. Women see through it. People who are going to do business with you go, I don't know what it is about that guy, but I don't like it, or I don't like him, which is even worse. Because as we know from being entrepreneurs or from dating or from whatever we're trying to do, whatever our goal is, we know that people buy you. And if they are looking at you and going, I don't know, something's fishy with this dude, they're not going to like it. So what we need to do is develop actual confidence and actual confident mindsets and actually be comfortable in our own skin, because then when we have confident body language. If we are in a leadership role among our social circle, or if we're in a leadership role in our company and we're doing it effectively, people will naturally be attracted to that. People will naturally follow that. If you're trying to be a hard ass because you feel insecure about your ability to lead, you're actually going to be repelling people, because it's going to be, well, the opposite of magnetic, right? And that often comes from trying to force certain behaviors and certain actions in order to force a certain outcome. If you actually have the mindset that matches that and it's real and it's authentic, which is the key, and sincere, then those actions fall into place because they follow the belief and the results follow the actions. Does that make sense?
It makes a ton of sense, man. I think we've all met the person who comes in and they say what they're supposed to say, but they're coming from a place of, okay, you read this on a note card 10 times before you came into the networking event or to talk to the pretty girl at the bar, whatever it is. And there's clearly a lack of congruence here. So what I would love to do is maybe we can, as we kind of like unpack this and talk about how we can teach people, if they're interested, how to actually develop this. Why don't we start by just describing what an actual confident person that is truly confident looks like?
In terms of the way a magnetic or confident person looks like, in terms of just their actual mindset, it's hard to outline all of these qualities right away, but I'll do my best here. Somebody who's comfortable in their own skin. What I mean by that is somebody who walks into a networking event and doesn't go, these clothes don't look good on me. I feel gross. I'm too short. All these other people are doing, something that I'm not doing. I'm not good enough to be here. This is a mixture of what we call being in your head, which is micromanaging or attempting to micromanage other people's perceptions of you, combined with reading their mind. And what we do is we try to read other people's minds by placing what we think are their thoughts into our own head. And that's not helpful because, one, you're wrong. And two, even if you're right, it actually does nothing to help you unless they're really positive thoughts, which usually people who are stuck in their head, these aren't positive thoughts, right? They're thoughts like I just went over. And also, people who are confident and magnetic are not only are they not in their head, not only are they not trying to read people's minds, they're not trying to micromanage other people's perception of them. And what that means is I don't walk up and say, hey, Scott, nice to meet you. I'm Jordan Harbinger. Oh, you have a podcast? I also have a podcast, and it's really big and it's really fancy and everybody loves me and ... Because what I'm doing is I'm trying to get you to like me there. But what ends up happening is you go, look at this guy, Mr. Important, trying to impress everyone. What a dick. Because we don't look at that as Jordan just wants me to like him. We look at that as Jordan's trying to outdo me, and I don't like that. And that's not good. So we have a value scale we use at the Art of Charm, which is essentially you can slot human personalities into one of these four categories. There's supplicative, and we go over this in depth in like 3 hours of one of the series in our podcast at the Art of Charm. So I'll just go over it in like 5 seconds here. But we have supplicative, which is the people who have the mindset that go, oh, I want everybody to like me. And so I'll try to think of an example on the fly here. Somebody who's supplicative might be like, Scott, can I be on your show? I'm not that interesting, and my business isn't really that cool, but I would love it if you would have me on your show, and I'll maybe I could like pay you, or I could like do some free work for you if you would have me on your show. That would be really cool. And if you don't like it and it sucks, you just can like throw it away. I don't care. I understand. It's
almost like an apologetic person.
It's an apologetic existence, though. It's not just like, hey, Scott, sorry our internet cut out. We'll have to reschedule. It's like, I'm sorry that I am so not worthy of your time. And this shows up in relationships. This shows up at work. It shows up everywhere, especially in relationships, I should say, because guys and girls, in fact, here's why guys that otherwise seem like they have their stuff together put up with crazy bad behavior from women is they go, well, this is the hottest girl that I'm ever going to get, so it's okay that she stands me up, spends all my money, or treats me like crap in front of my friends, because I don't deserve a girl that looks this way or was born to, with money or blah, 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 whatever thing they're putting in, whatever insecurity is manifesting here. So they become supplicative and people walk all over them. Unfortunately, that's not very attractive. So it ultimately dooms the relationship. Then there's the combative is the level above that. And by above that is you're always seeking to become the next level above where you are, whether you know it or not. And it's always a transitional pace. So the combative guy is usually the guy who used to be supplicative and goes, you know what? I used to get walked on by girls, but now I realize that bitches all just want money. Like, screw them, and
I'm the successful tech CEO now.
Yeah.
Who's laughing now?
Exactly. And it's like, they'll go out and they'll mistreat people, or they'll see a guy that looks like some guy that mistreated them in high school. And, they'll look at a guy who's in shape, and that guy could be a former, geek too, or current geek. And they're like, yeah, whatever, bro. Nice car, nice Ford Fusion. I drove here in a Tesla. Like, whatever, who's cool now? And the problem with that is you're constantly trying to gain value, whereas the supplicative guy is trying to gain value by bringing himself up or begging people to give him a little bit of value because he's at the bottom of the totem pole. The combative guy goes, oh, you have some value? I'm going to rip that away from you by force, by bringing you down a peg, by being aggressive, by throwing my weight around, by trying to buy it from other people, by just being an obnoxious jerk. And the thing is, those people aren't necessarily bad people. They've just developed a belief that whereas before they had to beg for it, they feel like, wow, that was wrong, and now I need to overcompensate by throwing my weight around and trying to be alpha, or trying to sleep with as many women as possible, or trying to throw my money around because I didn't need that damn job that my old boss, made me feel like a low person. I didn't need him. I want him to know how cool I am now. All that stuff. That's combative, and that's a bad place to be. Again, that's chick repellent unless she's very insecure, because women go, whoa, I don't want somebody who relates to the world like that. That's awful. Above that, you have what most people are to one degree or another, which is competitive, and that's totally fine. An extreme example of this in a negative light is going to be something like, Scott, you've got a brand new car, and the competitive guy goes, Oh man, that's a cool car. Did you get the one with leather seats? Oh man, why not? You should have got the one with leather seats. Is this one that's AMG? Oh yeah, I just got a new car. It's an AMG. It's pretty sweet. But this is cool too, man. And you're like, what a D-bag. He's totally one-upping everybody.
Here's your second place trophy.
Yeah, here's your second place trophy. And you see this in varying degrees everywhere. For example, you've got a show, and instead of being like, oh, cool, you started a podcast, I could be like, oh, yeah, don't know if you know, I've got a pretty big podcast. It's actually kind of bigger than yours. Just saying. Like that's annoying. Nobody wants to hear that. And it happens in very subtle ways because people who do that aren't bad people most of the time. Again, this is a spectrum, so you're not going to have one of your friends be like, oh, yeah, nice new car, dick. You're going to have one of your friends go, oh, he got a new car. I could have gotten a new car this year, but I don't need one. He spends his money a little bit foolishly or something like that. Or, I could get a new one, and when I do save, I'm not going to get one that has fabric seats. I'm going to get like a nicer one. So I'm saving up for that. They don't realize that they're being a little bit combative and a little bit overly competitive. It's their mindset. That's how they relate to the world. Now, the ideal way, in my opinion, and in the Art of Charm opinion, and this is what we teach at our boot camps and programs, is something that's called a cooperative way of relating to the world. And this is the person that you see who is very naturally magnetic. For example, to use the same car analogy, you go up to somebody and you've got your new car, and that friend of yours who's of the cooperative dynamic goes, yo, is that a new car? And you go, yeah, I just got it. Wow, it looks really good. You look good in that, man. What is this? It's a Ford Fusion? Solid choice. I heard that's the most popular car in America. Do you like it? Yeah, I love it. Well, great, man. You deserve it. You've been working really hard. I know you got a new show out. How's that working out for you? Yeah, let's go grab some dinner. And you go and you have a great dinner, and he made you feel good about it, and he makes you feel good about yourself a lot, and that's why you like that person, and that's how he relates to the world. Well, guess what? To throw a little Maya Angelou quote in there, people never forget how you made them feel, right? And so that guy, everyone loves that guy. They can't wait to be around that guy because he's like a drug dealer, right? Not an actual drug dealer. He's like a drug dealer. He makes you feel good every time you hang out. Every time you see him, he gives you dopamine and serotonin because he's like, nice new car. Hey, that's a cool jacket. Where'd you get that? Did you lose weight? Are you working out? Like, he's not just being overly complimentary like the supplicative guy who's, you're so cool, I'm not worthy. He's the guy who's already up there, and he's like, come on up here with me. So instead of the combative guy bringing everybody down, and instead of the competitive guy kind of pushing you to the side a little bit to get a little bit of an edge on you in his own mind, this guy is already at the top of the totem pole, and he wants to pull everybody up there with him because the view is damn good. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense, man. The first thing that comes to mind for me is just an abundance mindset, right? It's like, if you think that there's no scarcity out there, you can recreate anything, you can get anything you want, like, you're going to come from a place of being joyful and jovial for everybody else's success.
Yeah, it's an abundance mindset, but honestly, it's not just an abundance mindset. So, for example, if you and I are, buddies hanging out and we're at a bar or something like that, and we see the girl that we like, if we are both, let's say supplicative, we're going to go, oh, well, it's going to be, Big Bang Theory, right? Oh, she's not going to go for me, probably not going to go for you either. Let's just order a pizza. If we're combative with one another, I'll be like, she's not going to like you. You look gay, man. Whatever, dork. I've been working out. And then if we're competitive, I might be like, give it a shot. And then, I'll come in and see what happens or whatever, some variant of that, even if that dialogue only occurs in my head. But really, if we're at the ideal level with that abundance mindset and we're in the cooperative mindset or cooperative way of relating to the world, then I would say, dude, go for it, man. You're basically like swingers, right? You're so money you don't even know it. We'd be encouraging each other, and I'd say, hey, you spotted her first. She looks like your type of girl. Or you might say, you know what, I spotted her first, but that is your name written all over it, Jordan. Why don't you go talk to her? And you would make me look good when I did that too, by being like, oh yeah, Jordan and I have been hanging out. He's a really cool guy. We're always bringing each other up. There's that abundance mindset. That helps. But the other thing, honestly, that does help with that is it's not just having an abundance mindset. And that's something you can't just magically create by telling yourself that there's plenty. Unfortunately, it is absolutely a mindset. But it's also about realizing that when other people are given a ton of value, it doesn't take away from what you have. And I guess in a way that is an abundance mindset, but it's not just with external things. It's with things that are non-tangible. Again, we call it value, but that's just because there's no better word for it. It might be credit, limelight. It might be money. Of course, that's an abundance mindset. It might be women. It might be friends. It might be positive feelings, right? It can be anything like that. And realizing that if I give you tons of it, you can give tons of it back to me. It's not just abundance, but the idea that this stuff it grows when you create more of it and when you focus on it, especially when you relate to other people. That's a crappy explanation, but I hope that people understood what I was saying anyway.
I got you, man. And, I'm thinking right now in my head, like, in terms of like belief structures that drive the actions that we want and the results we want. I mean, it's more, there's got to be more in terms of being like the person that, well, I can't talk. The person who's magnetic in the room, who lights it up when they walk in, than just having this abundance mindset. Are there any other key traits?
There are plenty, but honestly, it's a lot to go into in an audio-only format. The way that these are communicated is much more important than the actual trait itself. So, for example, somebody who is at the top of the totem pole value-wise, or in other words, of a cooperative mindset, will hold themselves in a certain way because they're comfortable in their own skin. They will have certain degrees of eye contact that are very engaging. They're going to have engaging and charismatic vocal tonality. They're going to interact with other people in a way that makes them look and feel like the center of attention, even when they're not, or like a confident, charismatic, magnetic person, even if they're brand new and they don't know anyone. And that's extremely powerful. So some drills that I give brand new guys to the art of charm, first of all, we talk about these a ton in our show. I mean, there's more than 250 hours of audio on the iTunes feed and not the website. But you've also got things like, in order, say for example, that your eye contact isn't up to speed. Maybe when you look at people, you tend to look downwards, or maybe when you're intimidated by somebody, you tend to avoid eye contact. One of the drills that we do, it's all about habit creation, right? So one of the things we might do is say, all right, if you're having trouble with eye contact or you don't figure that that's up to snuff, then for the next 2 weeks, and it's actually going to take you longer than this, but at least that'll get the habit formation going. Look everyone in the eye just long enough to notice their eye color. And what that'll do for you is it will have you looking people in the eye long enough so that you are not creepy, but that you're also making sufficient eye contact. Because what a lot of people do when they're working on eye contact is they go laser beam and they start zoning in on people and they never break eye contact.
It just freaks you out.
Freaks people out because it's not natural. And it's not natural, which causes a negative reaction in other people because they don't go, oh, he's working on eye contact. They go, oh, he's an axe murderer. What's going on with this guy? I don't want to be around him anymore. The other thing is that a lot of people shrink their body language up to be a little bit smaller than usual whenever they are in an unfamiliar situation. Other guys that are trying to overcompensate, instead of changing their beliefs, they're changing their actions. They tend to do this fake alpha thing where they're like, I'm taking up the whole couch, even though people are standing. You know, it's annoying. It looks super try hard and it's ridiculous. So what we do is we just say, hey, listen, straighten up your body language, put on a smile every time you walk into a room. So you'll have upright posture and a smile every time you walk into a room. And the way that we do that is by saying every time you go through a doorway, straighten up and smile. And that's a pretty difficult habit to build just because it's tough to remember it. But once you get it down, man, you're going to be creating first impressions that are gold everywhere because when's your first impression made? When you walk in, generally. And if you're having trouble remembering your body language, you can do it really easily every time you walk through a doorway because you're doing that all day long.
Jordan, this makes sense to me. How do people start developing this, and can anybody develop this skill?
Yes, anybody can develop it. Some people, it'll come more naturally than others, which is good. But usually the key is really persistence. And the key is making sure that you're getting constant feedback from it. A lot of people try to learn this stuff in a vacuum. You might be able to do some of it in a vacuum, but honestly, coaching is the way to go. I'm not saying you have to get it from us, but I am saying that we have a podcast that teaches a lot of this stuff, so you don't have to buy anything, especially if you feel like you can't afford it. But it does help to have experts critiquing what you're doing and how you're showing up to other people, because you really can't spot your own blind spots. Does that make sense? Trying to troubleshoot your own blind spots is kind of like a fish trying to figure out water. It's just there's so much around you, you have no idea.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, listen, I'm a guy who's invested in this in my own life, and it's also there's 20 things to think about, right? Am I leaning forward? How's my eye contact? How's the tonality in my voice? All of these things. And being able to have a barometer on all those is next to impossible.
Yeah, you can't do it, because even if you do try to be mindful of everything at once, now you're in your head, which means you're not being present. You're not actually paying attention to what other people are doing when they're talking with you and how you're showing up to other people. So that's a problem. And even if you were able to micromanage everything, you're not going to know what to look for.
Totally. So maybe we can take a little sneak peek in here, because again, at the core of all of these things is beliefs. If you have the right beliefs, all of these things are going to come much more naturally, and you're going to get the results you want, whether that's a promotion at the office, the pretty girl at the bar, whatever it is that you're trying to show up in an optimal way. How do you shape somebody's beliefs in an empowering way if they don't currently have them when somebody works with a coach like yourself?
Sure. And that's the tricky part, right? Because that's the magic sauce. I'm happy to share it with you, but because it's not something that's easily replicated. I mean, it's taken us like a decade to get this formula where it is now, and it's even now consistently evolving. Basically, what we do is, since we know that the mind follows the body and the body follows the mind, those are essentially scientifically proven ways to change behavior and mindsets. And we also know that mindsets influence actions, which influence your results. What we do is we're able to harshly, and not harshly probably, but very dramatically, I should say, critique your physiology and tweak your physiology. And the way that we do that is we film you in interactions with female assistant instructors and with the regular dudes that are in boot camp. We film these interactions. We go over the tape with you with a coach as well. Of course, we tweak your body language, vocal tonality, eye contact, the way that you sit, stand, walk, and talk. We spend a ton of time drilling it so that you get positive feedback, doing the right sets of actions, which then influence your mindsets. And then, of course, we give you a ton of guided practice. And I mean, like, this is a 60-hour residential program, so it's insanely intense. That includes 6 months of prep and follow-up, as well as phone coaching before and after. So it's not like get it all done in a weekend type of baloney. And we constantly refine your mindsets. And through practice, you'll constantly be refining your other mindsets as well, constantly be getting feedback on that as well. So it's actually really difficult to do. But we're able to get you started really solidly at boot camp, and we can do a little bit through the podcast sort of passively. But it's extremely difficult to change a belief system that someone's cultivated through their entire life in any short amount of time. So the way that we have to do that is by starting with the physiology, which is actually pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, it is tough. I'm constantly trying to change my limiting beliefs. And I think if we want to like really codify this at a really simple way that people can understand, it's conviction building and then conditioning, so that pretty soon, like the belief that I always like the example, like, why do you think when you turn the light switch on that a light is going to go on in your room?
Right. Because it's happened a million times in the past.
Exactly. So you need to do the same thing. And that's why you have such confidence when you go to switch it on that what's going to happen. So like whatever belief you're trying to reshape and re-architect, it's like you have to have that feedback of that optimal outcome after you do something to just then shift that to the ideal belief that you want to possess to get the actions and results that you want.
Exactly. I love that analogy. I'll even take it a step further. What happens when you're in your own house and you flip the light switch and the lights don't come on? You're confused, right? So imagine having a mindset where you're out to build relationships with people, men or women, business, pleasure, platonic, whatever, romantic. Imagine if every time you talk to people, they like you. And then one time you talk to someone and they're like, hey, Scott, what's up? It's Jordan. And you're like, shut up, dick. You're a loser. I'd be like, huh? What just happened there? And that's an unlikely negative reaction. But it could be something like you're talking to a girl and she goes, I don't know why you're talking to me. I have to go. If you're not conditioned to that, you go, oh, man, this sucks. Women don't like me, or she doesn't like me. But if you've had a bunch of positive feedback, even that same night, you'd be like, wow, she's super weird. What happened there? And you'd tell your friends about it. And if anybody was around to see that, you'd look at them and be like, what? So we want to get our belief systems to the point where every time you flip the light switch, the lights go on. And when they don't, you're confused. Whereas right now, a lot of guys that are listening to this are flipping the light switch and the light doesn't turn on, and they go, well, what else is new? Right? And or they try to start a business and they get rejected by investors, or people won't buy it, and they go, well, yeah, see, I knew that was going to happen. That's not the light switch, right? That's the broken switch. We want to flip those beliefs, and it is tough because it requires, like you said, a ton of conditioning. And we can rapidly escalate that process, but of course the student/client has to do the rest. They can't just come to boot camp for a week and then be like, I'm magically a new person. I don't have to do this anymore. But the best part is, after boot camp and after training or after coaching, it's fun, which is another key element of what we do. We gamify it so that it's fun, so that now you want to keep doing it even when we're not there.
Right. Yeah, I think that this is honestly probably one of the most important investments that people can make in themselves, in terms of developing empowering mindsets that allow them to pursue the things they want aggressively versus like taking life as it comes. And I really just wish more people put the emphasis on this instead of other bullcrap they think is going to make their lives better. That, you know, whether it's memorize, I don't know. There's probably a zillion examples that you have a better idea of how to, you know, say.
There's a lot of BS out there. For just so that people are clear, a lot of what I'm talking about seems like complicated or woo-woo, and it's not. One of my co-founders, AJ, he's a scientist, literally a cancer biologist. So the other guy that's a head instructor, he's a rock musician. He's been touring around a ton. He built natural confidence in a very natural way. These guys convey this really, really well at AOC. Our other instructors are coaches that have been students in the past, years ago. So these are things that are based on science. We're constantly getting coaches, scientists, other consultants that are unfortunately, extremely expensive to come in and validate what we're doing and then give us tweaks with the latest science and make this even more powerful. So if you're looking at something and you're like, the mind follows the body follows the mind, you're doing too much yoga, Jordan. It's literally proven. So I know a lot of guys are going, this just sounds way too complicated. When you come in, we're not going to be like, meditate on this grasshopper. We're going to be like, here's a video camera. Here's a structure of how a human interaction can look. Here's what you need to have in your head, and here's what you don't. Let's do this 150 times with a coach watching until you get it right. We're not working on a million different little nuanced things here at AOC. We're working on 5 or 6 mindsets to just beat into your head, you know, with as much force as we can without breaking you, and then have you come out with mastery thereof, or at least start on the path to it. We can't get you, you know, to James Bond level overnight. And the thing is, the beauty is, you can get there yourself. It's just a matter of cutting your learning curve, and that's what we do. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. One thing I want to touch on is, can you talk about how these mindsets, let's say you learn them with the intention of getting better with women, but they actually permeate all areas of your life?
Yeah, they absolutely do. Yeah, one of the keys here is not that, I think a lot of people are like, oh, this is dating, or this is only for guys.
Exactly, and that's the point I wanted to address.
Yeah, this is nothing to do with it. The reason I use that analogy is I know most of your demos probably dudes, and all of our clients at AOC are guys. We do coach women, but only via phone. Our boot camps are for men only. There's tons of dating advice for women. Most of it is crap, but that's not our specialty. We focus on confidence in men, and that's really all there is to it. However, these principles are applicable across the board. 40%, fully 30 to 40% of AOC clients are married or in happy relationships. They're not using this for dating stuff. The military and intelligence guys that come through, they're not using this for relationship and dating stuff. They're using this because relationship building is a huge advantage to anybody in their position, but be it entrepreneur or soldier. And so don't discard this stuff thinking, I'm not an entrepreneur, or I'm not, I'm not on the market. I don't need this. In fact, the guys that understand that this applies everywhere have a huge advantage. When I'm at dinner parties or any kind of networking event or any kind of event anywhere where I'm talking about this, most people will agree that this is universally applicable. The guys that don't seem to get it, oftentimes their wife will go, oh God, I wish I could get my husband to learn this stuff, but he's got his head up his ass. If your wife is telling me that after you get done being a blowhard about how you're already married, it's kind of funny, but also you kind of have a problem that's not being addressed. So it's actually a little bit more serious, and it's not just a joke. There's a lot of guys that go, you know what, I would have totally needed that when I'm single. And I'm like, I'm going to make a mental note, and sometimes I actually make a note in our CRM system to check back with that guy in 6 months to a year, because somebody who is in a relationship with somebody who doesn't understand human dynamics or has inherent insecurities is at a distinct disadvantage in terms of keeping their relationship going long term.
So the last thing I wanted to ask you about is what's your opinion on exercises like affirmations and incantations for belief building?
You know, it's hard to say, but the science is kind of against those things. I'll say that we used to use them at AOC for a while, and then we were like, you know what, this is sort of not the greatest part of the program. They were a very small part of follow-up. I don't use them. I never found them to be that great. We do a system thereof that is a little bit different, where it's question based, but it's certainly not the foundation of any sort of confidence building that we do here. I don't know. Can it hurt? Probably not. But is it actually going to help? That's up in the air. That's sort of for science to decide. I don't know. I certainly don't think it's a replacement for action, and I certainly don't think it's a replacement for getting actual positive feedback that changes your belief systems. I think that it's most likely a circle jerk.
I didn't think you were going to finish like that, but I'm glad that you did, nonetheless. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I agree. There's nothing stronger for conviction building than actual experience. But for me personally, I guess one thing that affirmations and incantations and that stuff does do is at least get me in the right mindset when I start my day off.
Sure. Yeah, it's like coffee. You probably don't need it, but it helps. It can. Or, at the very least, it might get you there, even if it's placebo. And it might get you pumped up. Does it change your mindset? I don't know. But even if the effect is really temporary, then go for it. But don't do that instead of, because I know a lot of guys that are like, for example, they'll be like, all right, I'm going to nail this presentation. Get psyched up, get psyched up. Then they go to the bathroom and they're like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I got to pee already. And it's only been 3 minutes since I went last time. It doesn't necessarily actually fix the problem. But hey, if it gets you psyched up, then go for it. Whatever you need to do. But doing 25 push-ups in the hallway might do the same thing.
Great point. I actually kind of feel like going to do some push-ups after this conversation.
All right.
Dude, so this has been awesome. We've learned so much about how beliefs drive our actions and basically, how we can think about reshaping those if we're not in the ideal state right now. If people want to learn more about you, learn more about this stuff, man, tell us, where can we go? Where can we get more?
I would say, since you're already listening to a podcast, look for The Art of Charm in iTunes or your podcast app. And if that doesn't work, or you can't figure that out, go to theartofcharmpodcast.com. We've got a ton of subscription options. You can download it. It's all free, by the way. And the majority of our content is free. So enjoy the free stuff. And if you guys are hell-bent on coming to LA and working with us or doing something remotely, then let us know and reach out to me. I'm Jordan H. at theartofcharm.com, or they can just call the number on the website. I'm really accessible, and I feel like that's a cornerstone of what we do at AOC as well. So, but in the meantime, hey, enjoy the show. And I feel like if you're listening to this, you should be listening to The Art of Charm as well.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much again, and look forward to listening to more of your episodes, brother.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Before we finish up with today's Mindshare, I just want to say thanks for listening to another episode of The Competitive Edge. If you enjoyed the ideas in this episode and want access to all the conversations, tactics, and mind shares we'll be sharing in the future, the best thing you can do is subscribe to The Competitive Edge on iTunes. And while you're there, if you felt like this show has made a positive impact on your day, it'd be great if you could leave us a review on iTunes as well. Now, I know we covered a lot in this episode, and there might be a few key ideas or tools that you want to remember. So we went ahead and compiled all of the notes, links, and even a full searchable transcript of this conversation for you on lifelonglearner.com. That's life-longlearner.com. I also want to give you the details on a cool contest I'm running right now at lifelonglearner.com/fun. By entering the contest, you'll have a chance to win everything from Amazon gift cards to a free month of having your very own dedicated virtual assistant to an opportunity to come and hang out with me and my buds for a few days where we'll teach you how to create your very own passive income stream. To enter this contest and learn more about everything we're giving away, head on over to lifelonglearner.com/fun. All right, Scott here with another mind share. Man, how funny is Jordan? I really enjoy his candor, and you know what? I think it's one of the things that makes him more likable. And today I want to talk about one quick thing that we talked about before the show. We were talking about how a lot of people on these podcasts act really serious and try to be super professional. And you know what Jordan brought up, which I think is a really good point, is that when you talk like that, it is very hard to be relatable. And when you're unrelatable, people are less likely to trust you and they're less likely to buy from you. And although in a different context, this is something that I saw a ton when I was doing business development. In fact, I would try to get people to basically open up and be in that state of complete, more like laid back, talking freely as fast as possible, because I knew that it was easier to build trust in that state. So I guess I challenge everyone that's listening to this right now to think about how you communicate with people. And this is not only in verbal communication, but in email dialogue. Are you super formal and serious? And is that putting you in the bucket of the type of person that is easy to trust and relatable? If not, perhaps it might be a good idea to shift the way that you communicate so that it is easier to be relatable to you. And secondly, I want to talk a little bit about Jordan's business and what he does, because I think this is an important thing for guys to hear. A lot of guys, and ladies, I appreciate you listening right now, even though this might not be as relevant. A lot of guys look at a business like Jordan's, The Art of Charm, and go, yeah, that's cool. I don't need that. I don't need help with relationships and women and charisma. Let me ask you this. What is the most important decision in your life? Now, I'm not you, but I think that the most important decision that I will make in my life is who I decide to spend the rest of my life with in a partner and procreate with. The most important decision in my life. So why would you not dedicate attention to getting that handled if you currently aren't? I see so many guys that are so willing to invest in career progression and taking, reading business books and all of these things. Yet when it comes to making sure that they give themselves the best chance to present themselves in a good way to attract their ideal mate, they're not interested. And to me, that blows my mind. So I guess I just wanted to just have this message for all the guys out there that, if you're like, I'm somebody who's invested in coaching and improving my presentation and social skills with mentors, with people of the opposite sex. And if you are on the fence about that, like, take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, like, is it worth risking not getting something handled that is going to affect what might potentially affect the most important decision in your life? Personally, it's not something that I want to put at risk. So thanks again for listening today. I hope you've enjoyed this show, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of The Competitive Edge.